My stepsister stole the spotlight and humiliated me by announcing her pregnancy on my 18th birthday, so I crushed her wedding with a revenge twist. I'm 21 now, and I wish I could say I've moved on from what happened back then, but I really haven't, which is what brings me here. My family consists of me, my dad, my stepmom, and my stepsister, Vicky, who is 23 years old and female. My dad married my stepmom 5 years ago after 3 years of dating, so technically, Vicky and I have known each other for almost 8 years. My own mother passed away shortly after my birth, and in the beginning, it was just me and my dad. If he dated anyone during my childhood, I don't remember it, or maybe he just didn't. I do remember him sitting me down when I was 13 to tell me about a special woman in his life whom he had been going out with for a couple of months before introducing me to my stepmom and Vicky. My stepmom was alright, but Vicky and I didn't like each other right from the first day we met. She was 15 at the time and started bullying me almost instantly with her backhanded comments about my appearance. First, it was that, and then later she'd make fun of my lack of a boyfriend, my friend circle, and many more things. As my stepmom moved in to live with my dad and Vicky started going to the same high school as me, things got worse. Vicky's dad was still alive, her mother was divorced and had met my dad through work a couple of years after the divorce. They shared custody of Vicky, so she'd spend half the month with her dad. I remember feeling very relieved during those days that she wouldn't be at home because she constantly tried to rile me up whenever she was around, and I couldn't take that. I'm an introvert and tried to keep to myself mostly, so I never really understood why she felt the need to come after me all the time. After she turned 18, she moved out for college, and I was thrilled that I wouldn't have to deal with her anymore around the house. I felt like I could finally breathe and live in my own home again, but it would be disrupted every other weekend because Vicky would come home. So, I'd retreat to my own room and stay there for the weekends that she'd be visiting. Nobody would even seem to notice or care because they were all so excited that Vicky had come back from college, even if it was just for 2 days, and even though it happened almost every other week. Was it frustrating? Yes, very much so, but I didn't say a word about it to anyone because I didn't want it to seem like I was jealous. I didn't want to make it a big deal and come off as an attention seeker, so I just stayed quiet all those years. Neither my father nor my stepmom ever noticed the bullying or how I'd never say anything when Vicky was around and turned into a more silent and morose version of myself whenever she visited. Or maybe they did notice but just didn't care enough to ask me. After a while, I got used to Vicky pushing me around for fun and my parents pretending that it didn't happen, so that was my life. In her second semester, she moved out of her dorm and into an apartment she'd rented with her boyfriend, whom she'd been with since freshman year. They were living together because they went to the same college but had separate accommodations for boys and girls. Apparently, they couldn't bear to live separately anymore, and so they moved in together. A couple of months after that, I celebrated my 18th birthday. My dad made a huge deal out of it and hired jazz musicians to play at the party, which was really cool because, for one, I'm a huge fan of jazz. It's a niche interest, but I was really happy that my dad had known and remembered. He'd invited all my friends from school and some of my cousins and a few other relatives. I was having a great time in spite of Vicky and her boyfriend being there, but it all went to hell when I was about to cut the cake. As soon as the song was over and I'd blown out my candles, Vicky cleared her throat and said that she had something to announce, some very good news for all of us. Apparently, I stopped, and so did everyone else, to look at her and figure out what was going on. Then she went on to announce that she and her boyfriend were pregnant, which led to a 15-minute celebration where everyone totally forgot about me. I just stood there like an idiot with a plastic knife in my hands. My friends were there to console me, but it didn't matter because my own father was with Vicky and her boyfriend, congratulating them with tears in his eyes. He wasn't even biologically related to that baby, so God only knows what he was so happy about. But I felt like absolute crap then because this was supposed to be my big day, and she just came along and hijacked it. I was upset after that because I didn't even get to cut the cake on my own. Everyone egged Vicky on to cut the cake with me, and she did so gladly because this was what she wanted after all, to steal my thunder on the one day of the year that was supposed to be all mine. I think that's the day I started hating her because you just cannot go back from something like that. We didn't get along earlier, but after what she pulled at my 18th birthday, I loathed her and started treating her the same way that she had been treating me for so long. Before that, I just let her talk crap, and I'd ignore her, but after my birthday, I talked right back, and there'd be pretty heated catfights, which would continue until one of our parents broke it up. During the time she was pregnant, she was still going to college and only came back home a month before her due date. I didn't try to be accommodating at all, refused to help her when she needed it, and just pretended that she wasn't there because I detested her. Her mother and boyfriend could help her, but I wasn't there for her. Then she gave birth and moved right back to her apartment with her boyfriend. It's been almost 3 years since then, and more recently, she announced that she's getting married to her longtime boyfriend. They got engaged a couple of months back, and ever since she announced it, I've been planning to get back at her for what she did on my birthday. I've been dating my boyfriend for 2 years now, and we've been pretty serious, so as soon as she announced her engagement, I knew that I was going to do something big at her wedding, just like she'd chosen my 18th to make her own big announcement. I talked about it with my boyfriend too, and he seemed to be okay with it because he was well aware of the kind of relationship I have with Vicky. So, he agreed to my plan, and 3 days back, at Vicky's wedding, he proposed to me right after the ceremony and speech were done. He grabbed the mic before anyone else could, and then he proposed to me. Everyone clapped for us and seemed very happy at the time, except for my parents and, of course, Vicky and her now husband. I had a lot of family come up to me and congratulate me, and even some of Vicky's friends and coworkers were nice enough to wish me the best. I was extremely happy that things had gone well, and obviously, I was overjoyed that I was engaged now. Vicky had a scowl on her face for the rest of her wedding. My dad, stepmom, and Vicky's husband also looked like they'd just been forced to suck on a really nastily sour lemon, and I felt great about it. They'd been the ones who didn't say jack about what Vicky did at my 18th, so I don't think they had any right to make faces and act upset about what I did. This was tit for tat. I didn't expect them to say anything afterwards either, but my dad did contact me the day after the wedding to tell me that he was disappointed in the way I behaved at the wedding. My boyfriend hadn't asked for permission from Vicky to propose at her wedding, obviously, so they didn't have any idea this was coming, which is exactly how I'd intended it to be. My father told me that we should have at least asked first and made sure the couple getting married was okay with our proposal plan. I told him that she hadn't asked me if I was okay with her announcing her pregnancy on my 18th birthday either, so I don't think I owed it to her to do the same. He argued that a wedding was different from a birthday party, and she was only ever going to get married once, but my birthday would come around every year. He said it wasn't fair what I'd done, and I needed to apologize. I kind of lost my temper then and put him on blast. I brought up how Vicky had been nothing but horrible to me for the last 8 years, and he had always ignored it all, so now he had no right to say anything to me when I finally decided to get back at her for years of bullying. I didn't feel sorry for what I'd done at all, but my father insisted that I must apologize, or the family wouldn't talk to me anymore. I didn't understand how that was fair at all and was really upset about his reaction, so I hung up. He never said a word to Vicky all this time when she'd been bullying me relentlessly, but now when I do something to hit back, I'm suddenly the bad guy. I understand that a wedding is different from an 18th birthday, but that one still hurts me, so I don't think it's unreasonable for me to want to get revenge. Am I the asshole for having my boyfriend propose to me at my stepsister's wedding because she announced her pregnancy on my 18th birthday? Okay, so I haven't apologized yet because I really don't think that I'm in the wrong here. The people in the comments didn't help either because most of you guys were divided on whether what I did was all right or not. To be honest, I don't even really care if I was right or not because I don't think I feel sorry about what I did at all, and I'm not going to say sorry if I don't feel it, especially if it's Vicky that I have to apologize to. My dad isn't speaking to me, and neither is my stepmom, but I don't care about that either. They've always picked Vicky over me, so this isn't very surprising. Of course, my stepmom would pick Vicky's side, but my own father choosing her over me was a huge blow. I mean, I'd always known that this was coming since they'd constantly stayed silent and let Vicky walk all over me while we were in our teens, so their response to me standing up for myself isn't too shocking. It still sucks, and I can't deny that. I never had a mom, so my dad was all I had, but now I guess I don't have him either. To be fair, I think I lost him ages ago when he first chose to turn a blind eye to how unhappy I was with my new life after he married his wife and brought Vicky into our lives. My boyfriend is the only support system I have now, and I'm very grateful for him. Unlike what most of you believed, he didn't have a problem with the way the proposal went. I mean, we're obviously still going to have a real one that'll be more intimate, one with our real friends and family, but it's probably just going to be his family, given the current situation. My grandparents, my dad's parents, called me today to talk to me about what happened at the wedding. They didn't say anything different from what my dad had already told me, but I don't know why they're getting involved in this now. It's been 1.5 weeks since the wedding, and Vicky hasn't said anything to me. My dad hasn't contacted me after his initial attempt to get me to apologize failed, and I've been cut off entirely from my family, so I don't understand why my grandparents, of all people, are dragging themselves into this. My grandparents and I have never been very close, so it's really weird too. I told them that this was none of their business, and so they called me out for being disrespectful towards them. They sounded like they were willing to argue with me for a while, so I just disconnected because I didn't feel up to it. I was already having a really rough day, and that just made it worse. It just reminded me how unfair things were for me and that my own family preferred someone who wasn't even related to them over me. Vicky had always been nice to everyone but me, so I guess it made sense that they'd like her more than me. I mean, these people are literally my family, and while I have always been a bit of a loner, it still just makes no sense that they're picking her over me. What happened at the wedding was petty and mean, and I know that, but she just had to feel that for one day of feeling like I was being mean to her, and she couldn't even handle that. But she'd been treating me like crap ever since she knew me. Nobody ever stood up for me when I was being treated badly, but when it comes to Vicky, everyone's all concerned and wants justice for her. Even my grandparents, who usually stayed out of family drama, even when it comes to my father and uncle, are getting involved and want me to apologize. I mean, it's just so unfair and ridiculous. I feel really bad that this is happening, and somewhere deep down, I really miss my dad too, but I don't know what I can do to make them see Vicky for what she is. It has been 3 weeks since the wedding fiasco and 3 weeks since I spoke to my dad. He blocked my number on social media, so I wouldn't be able to contact him, and when I found out, I didn't do anything for a day. I was really upset, but there was nothing I could do to fix it, and there was no way I was going to apologize to Vicky just to get my dad to unblock me and talk to me. But today, he visited me along with my stepmom, Vicky, and her husband, and boy, did a lot of crap go down. At first, I didn't even want to let them in because I knew they were here to stir the pot and create a ruckus weeks after the storm had already passed, but my father was very insistent, so I had to let them come in after a while, mostly because I didn't want my neighbors judging me. Luckily, my boyfriend was at home, so I knew that I didn't have to deal with them all on my own, at least. They didn't beat around the bush, and within minutes, Vicky had started yelling at me for ruining her wedding and making it all about me. She went on for like 15 whole minutes, all the while screeching at the top of her voice about how I had been selfish, cruel, and mean. She'd found out from someone, probably my dad, that I'd done that just because she'd stolen my limelight on my birthday and tried to downplay what she'd done. She said that it was no big deal, and I was making a way bigger issue out of it than I needed to, just because I wanted attention. Now, that wasn't true, and everyone who knows me for real would know that it was a lot of factors that had made me have the proposal at her wedding to ruin it. It wasn't just what she did at my birthday, but the way she treated me for years and years. She'd been bullying me ever since I was 13 and made me feel bad about myself every chance she got. So, if I hit back at her just once, then she deserved it 100%. She deserved it, and I wasn't going to let her just come into my house and yell at me. When I yelled back at her, the situation escalated, and soon we were both in a huge shouting match. It got to the point where my boyfriend had to physically restrain me because I was so close to her face. I swear, if he didn't hold me back, I might have actually hit her because the things she was saying were really that infuriating. After that, my dad had to intervene and break up the fight, and once we were both sat back down, he started off with his own sermon. I didn't know what his intention was, but he went on to talk to us about how he was really disappointed in both of us because of our immature and juvenile behavior. He said that we were both being crazy, stupid, and that he now wanted us to apologize to one another so we could put this whole thing past us and be a family once more. That might have worked when we were still teens, but that unfortunately wasn't going to work anymore. My dad had never once stood up for me when it came to Vicky, but all of a sudden, he wanted to play happy family. Why? Because his dearest stepdaughter was the one who was at the receiving end this time. I knew that this whole both of you jig was nothing more than an act, and his main motive was just to get me to apologize for what I'd done and possibly even more so they could go back to walking all over me once more. If he'd really wanted to fix things with us, then he should have come to me earlier and talked to me instead of acting like I was a criminal. All these years, they'd looked the other way when Vicky was being a brat, but now they were all involved because Vicky had a problem with me. I told my dad that I was more disappointed in him than he was in me and that I didn't mind it if he didn't want to speak to me again. He could go back to pretending I didn't exist. I knew I'd hit the right chord when his expression changed from annoyed to sad when I said that. He'd come back out of guilt. He didn't actually care if I was happy with the family he'd chosen for us or not, but he wanted me to go back to acting like I was okay, like I had been in the past, so that he wouldn't have to face the facts. He had made me miserable along with Vicky. At least Vicky and her stepmom didn't really owe me anything because they weren't my family, but he did, and he'd let me down over and over again for years. So now, if he was coming to me, it was out of guilt and nothing else. My stepmom tried to interfere, but I told her that since she hadn't said anything for so many years when it was her own daughter who had been bullying me and making me feel like crap about myself, it'd be better if she didn't say anything here either and let me speak to my dad. That shut her up. Vicky hadn't said anything for a while after my dad intervened anyway. She just kept glaring at me with her husband trying to calm her down. Soon after, she left because her sitter had to leave, so she wanted to go back home to be with her son. Even before leaving, She made sure that she said something to irk me and loudly exclaimed that this whole thing had been a waste of time and that she'd known that she never should have come by to sort things out with a person like me. If she'd known that all along, then she probably shouldn't have come. I totally agree with her on that, and I actually wish she hadn't come to talk to me today because all she did was piss me off and make matters worse. After she left, my dad and stepmom still sat around for a few more minutes. My dad tried to explain to me the importance of family and that what I'd done to retaliate was just messed up, but I wasn't interested. I told him that he could either just suck it up and accept it that he'd not exactly been a good father to me, or we could continue arguing and waste some more time. One thing that Vicky had been right about was that this was actually a huge waste of time. There was no point in me trying to explain myself to them and vice versa because, right from the beginning of our relationship, they'd always been more self-involved, and now that I was acting the same way, they were mad about it. He left and was really disappointed by then, but that's not new in our family. They disappoint me, I disappoint them, and the cycle goes on. At least now, there will be an end to it. I'm really tired from the day that I've had and have never been more grateful for my boyfriend, who let me speak my heart out today but still stepped in whenever he thought things were getting out of hand. I'm so lucky to have found him because he actually respects me and my feelings, unlike most people I've known. Speaking of which, a lot of you guys have asked why I referred to him as my boyfriend even after we got engaged, and that's just for the sake of clarity. I don't want to confuse people by referring to him as my boyfriend in one half of the post and then my fiancé in the next half, and besides, it also takes time to get used to a change as big as this, so that's another reason why. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same guy, so it doesn't really matter what I refer to him as. It's all okay here, and we're as happy as can be together. Hey folks, so my boyfriend and I got properly engaged a few days back and had our engagement party today. We invited all our friends and family. I had a cousin of mine attending, but nobody else. I'd invited a few other relatives, but this was on such short notice that a lot of them couldn't make it. I hadn't invited my parents on purpose, and it wasn't like they were going to feel bad about it anyway. It's been a week since my huge fallout with my parents and stepsister after they visited me, and they haven't spoken to me since. I'm okay with that, and that's why we had the engagement party now. I was too depressed to have it earlier, but I'm doing a lot better now, so it was the perfect time for a celebration with all my close and dear ones. My dad did send me an email congratulating me after he saw the photos online. In the email, he mentioned that he would have loved to be there under different circumstances, which just means that he still wishes I wouldn't have picked a fight with Vicky. It made me mad when I saw it, but I chose not to respond because I didn't want anyone to ruin my vibe anymore. I was done with this and wanted to protect my peace now, so I thanked him and left it at that, then went back to watching the movie with my boyfriend. But I guess I'll have to start calling him my fiancé now. The proposal at the wedding just felt like a placeholder after what he did for me the other day, if I'm being honest. He rented a whole restaurant for me, played my favorite music, and it was just beautiful. I'd rather keep it private, to be honest, because it was so special to me, and for the evening, it made me forget about all my other worries.